Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about the one of the important example called this particular array list here, and array list is the implementation of the particular list interface. Okay, so we identify the some of the methods here. Now you can see add method we identify. So something like set method, remove method, and add all method. Okay, now what we will do, we'll try to continue the remaining method what we are having inside this particular array list here. So if I'm going to continue with particular another method, now what I can do, first I will open this particular collection framework, and this is the file we are having. And now you can see, so remove method. So what exactly this particular remove method is doing internally? So if I'm going to provide the information, we have a two types of remove methods here. Okay, now you can see this is expecting object and this is expecting index here. So whenever we are having this type of method, how this type of methods internally it's working. Now you can see the object related method internally it is trying to check on the equal operator. Okay, so here you can see if it is null, so it's trying to check on the null object, but we are not going to provide the null and we'll give you the object information. So internally it's trying to check on this particular equals method. So based on this particular equals method, if the method is satisfied, we are trying to break this particular loop. So you can see I come up with the one label. Okay, so this is we'll call it as a label. I'm using this particular label. Now what we are doing is we are trying to stop the loop here. So this is the loop it's stopping, and here also it is stopping. So in the two cases, we are using this particular for loop here. Okay, even if we are providing the null and without the null, in the two cases, we are trying to use this particular loop here. And now you can see we are trying to define the first block. So this is we discuss here. This is the section we call it as a initialization. The initialization section we are trying to define at the line number 648, because in the two cases we can use this particular the initialization here. And here whenever this particular object is satisfied, the loop is going to break here. Like the loop is we are trying to stop here. So once we stop here, now what we need to understand, basically we are going to provide the I is nothing but whenever this particular object is going to satisfy, so we are going to get the I value something like index value. So based on this particular index value, and we are trying to providing es is nothing but element data. Right now whatever the element we are trying to store, all the elements are going to store inside this particular es here. Okay, we'll use this particular remove method and it will try to remove from the specified index location. This is the equals method. Now if I'm going to provide the another method, something like this index method. Okay, right now we are discussing this particular object method. Whenever I'm trying to provide this, what happening internally, we are calling equals method, and for this particular remove method, so there is no equals method. Directly we are loading the value with help of this particular index here, because here we are passing the index. Based on this particular index, this is the array references. So how we are calling element data we discussed in the last session, it is a object type here. So each and every object it is trying to store inside this particular object array. Okay, the same object array I'm trying to pass into this particular ES, and once we pass here, now what we are doing here, we are trying to load from based on this particular index here, and after loading, again I'm calling the same method fast to remove. But here now you can see there is no equals method and there is no iterations here. Now what you understand here, whenever we are trying to work with this particular index related operations here, we are not going to use any the loops concepts here. Directly we will provide the index number and we are going to get the appropriate object information. So when we are not working with this particular indexes, we need to repeat the loop to identify the specified object, so which is available inside the which index location. Okay, so see the differences between the two methods, the object method how it is implemented, as well as the index is how we implemented here. Okay, this is important, we need to understand here. So this is all about the remove method, and So add all method and add method. So first what I will do, I will try to comment out this section of codes here. Now we need to understand the remove method one by one. Get in the part. Observe carefully what I am doing it. Here I am trying to call the remove method. Here I am trying to call this particular remove method. Now if you observe carefully, I am going to run this example in the debug mode so that we can easily understand here what happening internally. Okay, right now how many objects we are having inside this particular AL? These are all the objects. So 0 to 4 it is trying to store here. But what is the capacity we are having? So 10. How many capacity, like how many values we can insert more? Like we can insert few more, like more 5 values we can insert. Get in the pen. But now observe carefully what happens internally. So these are all the, so for whatever the values we initialize, these values we can see now. Now I'm calling this particular remove method. So whenever I'm calling this, so we are calling the element data. The element data will contain same whatever we discuss here. Now you can see 0 to 4, these are all the values we are having, and 5 to 9, some of the values not yet initialized here. Because of this particular capacity 0 to 9, we are getting the values we can initialize by default here. Okay, now I'm trying to load this particular same element data, and after loading, I'm trying to load the size. What is the size right now? What is the size right now? We are having 5. Okay, and based on this size, I'm defining, like I'm trying to initializing int I is equals to 0. I'm trying to check. Oh, it is not a null. Now we are moving into the else section. So what is the size we are providing? 5. How many times this particular loop is going to repeat? 5 times. Okay, for each time we are checking the value. But how we are checking? You can see here, ES, the array braces we given, like ES bracket of I. Getting the pen. Now, observe carefully any operation we are doing inside this particular array list, we are going to work on the arrays concept because the all the values are internally it is trying to store inside this particular object array. Because of this particular object array, if I want to load, if I want to delete, if I want to insert, getting the pen. Any operations we are trying to work on the array related sections here. Okay, now this is one of the important information we need to understand. Anything we are trying to work inside this particular array, so we need to write this particular section of code. Now observe, it's trying to repeat the loop multiple times because once our object is satisfied, we are going to stop the loop. Now finally, the condition is satisfied. We are trying to make the, we are trying to break this particular loop. And what is the I value right now? What is the I value right now? 4. Okay, I value we are getting as a 4. So whenever we are getting this particular I value as a 4, now you can see I value 4 we are having, ES I'm passing. What is an ES? This is the object array. So because of this particular object references, instead of passing this element data, now we are passing the ES. ES is nothing but object references. It is trying to have the same value which is available inside this. And what you need to understand, inside this particular fourth index location, the value it's going to remove. This is the value. Okay, ij. This ij is no longer available. When it is going to remove? After calling this particular fast remove. Okay, now if I'm going to explain this particular fast remove method, it is expecting object array first parameter, second parameter is expecting I. Now you can see, so this is the size we are getting. Okay, condition is we are checking, the condition is not satisfying. Now finally, now you can see we are initializing inside this particular array bracket, and outside this we are initializing this null. Okay, outsiding we are trying to initializing this particular null value. This is important. So first this new size is going to store into this particular old size, and later this particular null it is going to store inside the specified index here. Okay, what is the new size we are getting? Size minus 1. What is the size we are having? 5. 5 minus 1, 4. New size is 4. Okay, now this new size, now I'm trying to initializing into this particular size. So the size is replaced with 4. Earlier it is having the value called 5. Now whenever it is having 4, whenever we are having 4, what we are doing here, we are trying to initialize null values. We are trying to initialize null value. This null in the 4th index location, it is going to initialize. So this is the second operations. So first operations, what we are doing here, we are trying to write here size equals to new size. Okay, here what it will do, this first initialize the value. The new size is going to initialize into the like class level variable called size, because now you can see this particular variable we initialized at the class level, and this is the local variable we defined the line number 671. Okay, line number 671 we initialized it. Now 4 we are getting. Because of this particular 4, what we can understand here, the 4, it is trying to initialize this particular null value. Now what you need to understand here, if I come out of this particular 674, we can understand what is the values we are having. Now you can see the 4th record we are getting as a null. Okay, the 4th record we are getting as a null. So because of how we are getting, this is the statement, it is trying to make as a null. Earlier it is was ij, now the value currently null value. Getting the point? This is a way of removing the object from the particular collection. Okay, so this is important, we need to understand. Now it is returning true. Okay, so this particular object related remove method, it is trying to return the boolean value if the object is removed successfully. And another remove method, because this just now we discussed here. Now if I am going to remove this, what happening internally, it is trying to return the e. What is e basically? It is the element type whatever we specified here. So something like if I am going to call this, okay, if I'm going to call this, basically, we'll get the removed object. So this method, it is trying to return the boolean value. If it is returns true, we can understand this particular object is removed successfully. And here, this remove method, it will try to provide the return type, whatever the object we are going to return. Whatever the object we are going to return. Now, again, I'm going to call with help of this particular another method called remove method, which is expecting index value. Now you can see I'm calling, so one more remove method. I'm moving into the same internal section of this code here. Now observe carefully, whenever we are trying to work with this particular indexes, this is important, we need to understand. First it will check the range check, whether this particular index is available within the length or not. Okay, this is important. This particular value it is available or not, it is going to check here. So finally, now I'm calling, so we are getting an exception. Why we are getting an exception? So index is 5. What is the length we are having right now? 5. Okay, so we cannot use indexes should be 0 to 4. Getting the point? Because every index is going to start with a 0. So we cannot give as a 5 here. Because of this particular condition, now we are getting an exception here. Okay, so if I'm going to run this, now we are getting an exception. So index is 5 and length also 5. So every time the index should be one value less compared to this particular length here, or we can call it as a size. Okay, now what we can do, we can make this particular value as a 4. We cannot give as a 5. Getting the point? This is important, we need to understand. Now I am running one more time. Observe carefully. The same remove method we are calling, and internally, so again now we are checking the index. I'm not getting any exceptions here, because whatever the value we given, the value within the size only. Okay. Now what you need to understand here, I'm trying to load again this particular element data. Okay, so again I'm trying to load into this particular ES. So observe carefully, ES is a reference variable of this particular element data and index. What is the index we are passing? Something like 4. Okay, in the right side variable section, now you can see index is 4. Now, what we can understand here, whenever I'm trying to write like this, it is trying to move on to the fourth index location. It will load the value. The value we are trying to store into this particular variable called old value. And based on this particular index, again I'm calling the fast remove method, and it will try to remove the value based on this index location, and we are trying to return the old value. So observe carefully how I'm trying to load the old value based on this particular section, ES index. Okay, ES is elementary data, reference variable of this particular elementary data. Okay, this is the simple one. We don't have a much code when we are trying to work with this particular indexes information. Okay, any questions regarding this particular remove method? So we discussed the two types of remove methods here.
Sir, in the ES, is there any value, sir, in the object ES equals element data? Is it storing any value?
So you're not observing. Okay. So element data, basically whatever the value we are trying to store inside this particular array list here. So those array list values are going to store inside the element data only. So this we discussed in the last example. So for example, if I'm going to open this add method, now you can see I'm calling the add method internally, and here we are trying to call the grow. Okay, so one more grow method is calling, and here if you observe copy of what we are doing here, we are going to create a object here. Okay, with the help of this, we are trying to create this particular object array. Okay, this object, now carefully observe here, we are trying to create an object array, and this object array we are trying to set into element data. Okay, just now we call this array dot copy of method, and this copy of method now it is returning into this element data. So this entire section internally it is going to create like this. Okay, we are using the new, and I'm going to create object. Here I'm trying to providing the size here. Size is nothing but capacity. So whatever the capacity we are going to get here, so by default the capacity 10. Now what you understand, this new object, this is the type called array type. Okay, finally 10 default objects we are going to get, something like up to 10. All the values we are getting as a null. By default value we are getting as a null, and this object I am trying to refer to this particular element data. If you observe this particular element data, what is contained? Object array. Okay, same type we are creating or not? Here we are creating the same object array, and now I am trying to store into element data. So the element data it's having the type called object array. Okay, finally object array elements is equals to new object array we are creating. So same, it's like a how we created earlier example, into ARR is equals to new int of I given the size as a 10. Okay, this is the int related section, and instead of int we are trying to create as a object array. We are trying to create as a object array. Okay, this is the important information we need to understand here. Getting the point. Finally, this element data, it is a reference variable of this particular new object here. It will contain the 10 objectives. The same thing we are trying to use internally whenever I'm trying to call any remove method. Now, element data. Element data is something like a, again, same object array. Again, it is moving into this particular object array. Okay. So this variable I'm trying to refer to this particular ES. ES is nothing but a object reference here. Wherever we are using this particular ES here, it will affected in all the locations here. Getting the point? It is reflected in all the locations. Instead of using this particular element data, if you work on this particular ES also, it will modify the information inside this particular element data. It's because of references we are using. So references is nothing but something like this is the the heap memory we already identified, and here the element data is stored inside this particular element, like inside this particular heap memory, 1, 2, 3, up to 10. And if you are trying to return with ES, so if you modify anything with help of this particular ES, it is affected inside this particular element data as well. Getting the point? Because of the object references we are using. So we discussed the one example, call by value, call by references. Okay, if you know the example how it is going to work, we can easily understand this particular 537 line.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we'll try to identify the another important methods here. So we discussed the two types of remove methods here. Okay, so this particular remove method we identified. Now this particular remove method also we identified here. Now what I will do, we'll need to understand the contains all. How this particular contains all it's going to work. So if you observe, contains all is expecting the collection, and add all also is expecting the collection, and remove also is expecting the collection, and retain also is expecting the collection. So what exactly the collection indicating? So collection basically we can provide the one more, the collection of objects, something like one more multiple values. One more multiple values we can provide. So for this, now what I will do, I'm going to create a one more array list here. So one more array list I'm trying to provide here. And after this, I'm going to make as a AL2. And here, first I will call the, what is the method we are having? Something like contains all. Okay, if I want to check this particular contains all, what I need to write here? AL2 dot, I want to call add method, and here I'm going to provide as a something like a string. Okay, AL2 dot, one more add method I'm calling, and this particular add method I'm going to provide as a some different value, and here collection AL2 dot add I'm calling, and okay, I'm having three values. So inside this particular, whatever this particular newly array list we created here, so I'm trying to add some few elements here with help of this particular add. I'm adding three records here. Inside this particular array list, I'm adding the three records. Okay. So once I added, now what I will do, here I'm going to call al dot contains all. Okay, al dot contains all. So before going to discuss about the contains all, first we need to discuss about the contains method. Okay, how this particular contains is working internally. So what is expecting here? It is expecting the string. So why it is expecting the string? Why it is expecting this particular string here? Because so whatever the generic type we provided here, this is important, we need to understand. Okay, whatever this particular generic type we provided, so the same type of values only we need to provide. If you are trying to provide other data type values, it will give you an error, something like 45.12. Okay, if I'm trying to give 45.12, so what happens internally? Contains method. Contains method is expecting this particular value. So I'm not getting any error. For this particular contains, I'm not getting any error. And another one, al dot, if I'm going to call add method, if I will try to specify the same value here, 45.12. 45.12, I'm getting an error. The line number 22, we are getting an error. But line number 21, we are not getting any error. Why we are not going to get any error? So first we'll see the contains method, what is expecting here. Okay, now, so I did not copy the contains method. Basically, it will take as a object to element, object to type here. Okay, so let me go to this particular collection interface first. I did not copy the contains method. Okay, now if you see, this is the contains method. It is coming from this particular object class, and I will paste it here so that we can easily understand here how it is how this particular method is declared here. Now this is the name of the method we are having, contains method, and internally it is expecting 0 object to O, not 0 object to O. Okay, it is trying to return the boolean value. Now, so it is expecting object parameter. Whenever it is expecting object parameter, so we are trying to provide some double value. We are trying to providing this particular double value. We are not getting any error. Okay, here we are not getting any error. Getting the point. But here the add method. So if you go to this particular add method, is expecting E. Getting the point. Here this particular add method, it is expecting E. So what exactly E will contain here? It is a, so if I'm going to provide, okay, if it is this particular add method, if I'm going to explain this particular add method, now you can see it is expecting this particular E. Now we'll see, so E element whose presence in this particular collection. Okay, now I will go to this particular class level where we define this particular E. Now if you see here we define the E. Now this particular E, it is contained as a one of the generic type here. So whatever the generic type we are going to provide here, the method is also expecting same parameter here. Getting the point. Now what you understand here, here I'm trying to providing this particular string. So we should come up with the same string here. So other than this particular string, if you try to provide, we are not going to allow here. Okay. So because of this, it is trying to give an error. Now you can read this. The method add is expecting internal string, but we are not providing the particular double. So it is not applicable for this particular argument called double. Getting the point. This is one of the important we need to understand. Okay. Because of this particular generic here, we are restricting only the specified data type we are going to provide the value. Okay. And if I will specify something like this value inside this particular double quotes, nothing, we are not getting any error. Okay, this is internally it will treat as a string here. Now observe carefully. First we need to understand how this particular contains is going to work internally, because contains we are passing as a object here. Whenever we are passing this particular type as a object, we'll see what kind of code we implemented inside this particular contains method. Simply true I'm making. Okay, simply I'm making true. Now what we need to understand here, we need to run this example in the debug mode so that we can easily understand how this example it is working internally. So remove method we are calling. So this is the second array list I created here. Now observe carefully, I'm calling this particular contains method. So I'm trying to move inside this particular contains method. Now observe carefully. So this is the double value we are having. What is the D? 45.12 we are converting into double. And after this, again I'm going to call the same contains method. Now if you see, this is the O. Here right side you can see what is the value we are having, 45.12. And whenever I'm calling this particular contains method, internally what is the method I'm calling? Index of. Okay, I'm calling index of method. So now observe carefully what I'm passing here, whatever the object references we are having. Now I will move on to this particular index of method. So now internally you can see one more method we are calling. So here we are having the size. So size right now we are having 4. Okay, here we are passing this particular object to O, something like a 45.12. And now index of range method we are calling. Now whenever I'm calling this particular index of range, now you can see, so this is the important information. So what we are doing basically, if you observe the remove method, whatever the remove logic we implemented here, same code, but only the difference is here, instead of returning this particular I, now earlier we break the particular loop here and we call the one more method fast remove method. But here now you can see whenever you are providing the contains method, this particular object information, okay, internally, what you need to understand here, this particular loop here. So carefully observe, object is null? No, it is not a null. Now we are moving else section. And then inside the else section, what we need to understand? Remove section. What is the starting point? It's 0. So here you can see the starting value we are having 0. So now what you understand here? It is time to start from the 0 index onwards. Okay, it is time to start from the 0 index. Now, what is the condition we are having? End. End is nothing but length, or we can call it as a size, something like 4. Now, internally, we are going to identify the whatever the value we provided here. So this particular value we are going to check with the help of this particular equals method. Any value is there? No, we don't have a value. Now you can see, so equals method is one time call, second time is calling, third time is calling, and fourth time is calling. So all the 4 times is completed. Okay. Now if you see, if you want to understand one more time, because right now I value 3. So it started with 0. So whenever we make this particular less than, even though the I value 4, the condition will fail here. Okay, the particular condition will fail here. Now you can see condition is failing here. Okay, now we are coming out of this. Now what we are returning? -1 we are returning. Why we are returning the -1? Because so this loop is repeated end of this particular size, but any object is not satisfied. Whatever the object we provided, the O 45.12, this object is not available inside this particular ES. Okay, now you can see there is no the 45 value. Getting the point? There is no 45 value. If the 45 value is no longer available, we are returning -1. So whenever we are returning this particular -1, what you need to understand here? So observe carefully. So this method now it is returning -1. Now here we need to understand. So index of this particular, if it is greater than or equal to 0, what happens internally? It will return true. Otherwise, it is returning false. Now, in our case, this section is, what is the value we are getting here? Here we are getting the -1. -1 greater than or equals to 0. So this expression will return true or false. It will return false because the -1, it is basically less than to 0. Okay, but what we are checking here, if it is more than to this particular 0, it is returning true. But whatever the value we are getting the -1, it is a less than to 0. So in that case, now we are going to get as a false here. Now we are going to get as a false because it is a boolean type. It is a boolean type, just it will return true or false value. Now we'll get as a false. Whenever I'm getting the false, this statement is not going to print. Okay, this is the contains method. Contains method basically whatever the object we are passing. So the object is existed or not inside this particular collection, it is going to check. Getting the point? This is the simple one we need to understand. So in the existing collection, the specified value is available or not, it is going to check. For example, if I'm going to check this, if I'm going to check this particular something like ij, now observe carefully what happens internally. Now what happens internally? Again, second time I'm calling this. Again the same, the contains method I'm calling. Okay, now we are calling the same index of method. I'm moving inside this particular index of. Now I'm calling index of range I'm calling. Now finally we come to the same for loop, whatever we discuss here. So I value it is not a null and we are having, so starting value 0, ending value. What is the size we are having? 5. Okay. So why we are getting the size right now? Because one method we removed. So the method now I commented here. Okay. The method I commented here. So first iteration is completed. Now we are checking the value. What is the EF of I? ES of I, this particular value. AB we are getting. And what is the O we are having? Something like ij. Ij, it is not equals to with this particular AB. So one more time the loop is repeat. Second time. Okay. And so third time it is repeating. And fourth time it is repeating. Now you can see fifth time it is repeating here. Now it is satisfying here. Now it is satisfying here. So when it is satisfying here, what we are doing here? We are trying to returning the I value. So right now, what is the I value? Right now, what is I value? 4. Okay. So it is returning 4. So whenever it is returns 4, so the index of range also it will return 4, and index of method now it is returning 4. Now we need to write the expression 4 less than or equals to 0. Okay, 4 less than or equals to 0. What you understand here? So this particular expression is returning true. Why? Because whatever the left side value we are having, it is a bigger value of this particular 0. Getting the point? It is the bigger value of this particular 0. So this is we need to understand here. Now, so expression is returns true. So what you understand here? How it is working internally? Based on this particular value, internally we are using the equals method. If the equals method will satisfy, we'll get the positive values. Otherwise, we are going to get as a negative values. Whenever we are passing the negative values, the method will return false. Now you can see it is printing as a true. Okay, it is printing as this particular true. This is all about the contains method. Okay, this is all about the contains method. Now I will move on to the contains all method. So just now we discussed the contains method. We'll move on to the contains all method. So how this particular contains all method will work. Before going to discuss about this particular contains all, I want to check with this particular add all first. Add all basically is expecting one more collection. So something like here, so whatever this particular collection we are passing, this particular collection values now it is going to store into the current object. Now it is going to store into the current object. So it's a simple one. Now what I'm doing is we are having here two objects here. Okay, here I'm having something like AB, CD, something like EF and GH. And here, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9. Some values we are having. And what I am doing here, using this particular add all, I am going to pass this. This particular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9 object I am going to pass. Whenever I am passing this, now finally what happens internally? It will store into this particular collection. And finally AB and CD and EF, GH, something like 1, 2, 3, and here we are going to get 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9, and it will try to store all the values inside this particular the existing array list here. Okay, so something what you understand here, at a time we can call the add all method to store multiple values instead of calling add method multiple times. The way only one time we can call the add all method, so that all the values only one time the values are going to store into the another collection. Okay, so now you can see for this what I will do, the second one I will make as a string, like a integer. This is the best one, so that we can store multiple values here. So whatever I explain here, the same value I'm going to store here, and 1, 2, 3, so 4, 5, 6, and something like 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 10. Okay, now I'm going to call the contains method here. So first, before going to call the contains method, now what you need to understand here, al dot add all I'm calling. Okay, so al dot add all I'm calling here, and I'm going to provide so al2. And now if you observe carefully what happening internally, I'm getting an error. So the line number 21, why I'm getting an error here? We'll read this error. We'll read this particular error. So if you observe carefully, the method add all method inside the array list string is expecting ternary type, like the while code parameter we identified here. So you can see collection question mark extend with a string. Getting the point? Question mark extend with a string. Whatever the idle we are calling, getting the point? This is important here. Internally we come up with the generic type condition. Okay, it should be extending from this particular e. What is the e we added here? Something like a string. So we cannot pass this particular integer here. So I'm going to provide the addl here. Now you can see collection. Okay, collection, and here we are having the question mark, and it is extending with e. What is the e we provided? The element type we provided as a string. Getting the pen. The element type we provided as a string, but a string and whatever the another object we are passing here. So this is the okay. Let me copy this condition so that we can easily understand here. So observe carefully, and here the collection E we specified as a string, and here the second object I'm trying to pass as an integer, because integer is not extending string here. Integer is not extending string because there is no the relation between these two classes. There is no relation between these two classes. Now what you understand here? Whenever we are passing the one more array list here, like one more collection object here, it should be the same or it should be the subclass of this particular element type here. Getting the point? This is important here. Whenever we are calling this particular add all method, it should be the same type of object or it should be the subclass or the specified type here. Because here we are providing the e. E, what is the e we are passing? String. And one more object we are trying to use a integer. So you can observe, and here how it is matching this condition, integer. Now it is extended with this particular string. So there is no relation here. Integer, there is no relation with a string here. So as of now, we did not discuss this kind of example because of no relation we are having integer with a string. So because of that, we are getting an error. Now what we can do here, we need to remove the as it is whatever we discussed inside the earlier example. Okay. Now I'm making string, and finally, if I'm going to call add all, I'm going to pass AL2. Now you can see any error we are getting. We are not getting any error. Okay, and if I'm going to print this particular AL, now you will understand how this add all method it is working internally. Now you will understand how it is working. So now you can see it is appending string collection framework. So whatever these three objects I added, these three objects are it is added inside this particular the existing collection, but at the end of the index, at the end of this particular index, it started adding this value. Okay, so before adding this particular value, I will print the size. Before adding this values, I'm trying to print this particular size, and after this I'm going to print this particular, sorry, not this. After this I'm trying to print this particular size. Now you can see the size will increase here. Initially it is a 5, now later it is move on to the 8 here. Getting the point? How it is increased here. So this is important, we need to understand how this particular size it is increasing internally. Okay, now to understand this, what we need to do, we need to debug this particular add all method so that we can easily understand how this particular the add all it is working internally. Now what I will do here, I'm going to put a breakpoint and we'll debug the code, because so the size dynamically it is increased. We are not doing any extra operation to increase the size. Okay, we are not doing any extra operation. Now you can see I am stopping into the add all method. I am moving inside this particular add all method. So the add all method is implemented inside the array list. Okay, what is the C contains here? The C contains string collection framework. Okay, these three different objects I am trying to pass. So finally, C dot, this particular C dot we are calling the toArray method. The toArray method internally it is returning the object types. Even if you return this particular object type also, it will contain the same. It will contain the same. So because we are having indexes here. In the 0, 1, 2. In the 0, we are having the string. In the first index location, we are having collection. In the second index location, we are having framework. Okay. Now we are calling the mod count, and I'm trying to load the length here. So what is the length we'll get here? 3. Now you can see new. So this particular length is 3. Number new is a 3, and we are checking the condition. So this is not matching the condition because we are having 3. So we'll move on to this condition. So if you see this, we are doing the multiple operations, the line number 709. Okay, even though we write the if condition, first we are doing the some initialization section. Later we are checking the condition. So how we are checking the condition? So observe carefully. First, what is the types we are doing here? Okay. First, if you see element data, this dot element data, this dot element data is nothing but the earlier object before calling this particular add all method. Whatever the object we have, those objects are stored into this particular element data. If you want to understand this, now you can see up to whatever the elements we are having, AB to IJ. Okay, AB to IJ we stored inside this particular element data. Now what I'm doing here, this element data, now I'm trying to store into this particular element data where I define 707. Okay, one step initialization is completed. And the second one, after initializing, now what I'm doing here, I'm calling the length here. Whenever I'm calling the length, what is the length we are going to get? 5. Okay, so what you understand this entire expression, whatever I'm highlighting this, it is going to give as a 5. Here I'm getting as a 5. Okay. And finally, what I'm doing here, what is the S here? Size is equals to S. What is the size basically? Size is basically 5. Okay, size basically 5. Now I'm trying to initialize into this particular S. Okay, now I'm trying to initializing into this particular S. So finally, S also containing 5. Now if you see 5 minus 5. Okay, 5 minus 5, 0. So 0 we are getting. Up to this, so entire expression we are getting as a 0. Now what is the number new we are having? 3. So 3 greater than 0. Getting the point? This is the expression. Now we can call it as a condition. 3 greater than 0. So can you explain me this will satisfy? This will satisfy the condition or not?
Yes.
So this is satisfying the condition. Now it is returning the true value. Once it is written the true value, we are calling the grow method. So we are already familiar with this particular grow method we discussed in the earlier example. Now, so what I will do, I will check this condition whether it is satisfying or not, because explicitly we modify the values. Now it is satisfied. Observe carefully, somewhere we are missing. So something we missed here, it is not satisfied here. So now we need to identify element data. So what is the condition? Something like a length is 5, 0 to 4 is nothing but 5. And what is the S we are getting here? So S is 3. S is 3. Why we are getting this S is 3? Because from where it is identified. Okay, sorry, S is 5 only. But why it is not satisfied here? New number, what is we are having? Something like 3. Let me identify this why it is not satisfied here. So false I am getting. Okay, length. It should be the 5 only. Size S, length S. Okay, so anything here. Correct only. Element dot length and S. Okay, so I don't know why this expression is failing, but as per our condition, it should satisfy here. Okay, anyway, now what happening internally? It is not satisfying this particular condition. Now it is coming to this particular element here. Now what you need to understand here, so if we observe carefully, we are passing this particular A. Okay, so something like object array we are passing, and we are having three objects here, and this is the element data we are having. Getting the point. And this is the new length. From where we want to start, it is trying to give the length information. And S here. S is the size here. Okay, if you identify this array copy, you will understand here. Basically, this is the source object we are having, and this source position. Getting the point. So source object and source position. And this is the destination object and destination position. And length here. So far, whatever we are providing here, basically what it will do, it will try to copy the source value into destination. This particular system dot array copy, it will copy the source value into this particular destination. So what is the source value we are having? The three records. And what is the source position we are having right now? 0. Getting the point. And it will try to move into this particular destination with the help of this particular length as well as destination position. From the destination, which position onwards we want to copy, it is going to copy like this. So now you can read this so that we can easily understand something. So instead of reading this is the like SRC object here. Getting the point. This SRC object, now it will store into this destination. This is only the simple information we can understand regarding this particular array copy. Okay. So what I will do, after come out of this particular example, we'll identify the element data, how it is growing internally. Whenever I'm trying to coming this, now you can see it is added the new objects here. It is added the new objects here, 5, 6, and 7. But why it is started on the fifth index onwards here? Here we are passing this yes. We are passing this particular S. Right now this S is contain the 5 only. Getting the point. The particular yes, it is containing the 5. Because of this, it's going to start with the fifth index onwards. Internally, we are going to repeat the loop based on this particular new length. Okay, so this is we identified, and finally we are increasing the size. Earlier the size we have 5. Earlier the size is 5. Now it is going to increase to 8. How it is increasing it? So S plus new. Yes, right now we are having 5. 5 plus 3. So it is become 8. Getting the point. Because of this, the line number 712, now it is increase the size here. Now you can see we are returning the true, and we are trying to print this particular size. Now the size is, it is become 8. Getting the point. This is the one of the important example we need to understand. So how it is, getting the point, how it is increasing this particular size, and how this particular the values are storing inside this particular AL here. Okay, and now we identify why it is inserting on the fifth index onwards. That is, we identify the internal implementation code. Because of this particular internal implementation code, it is trying to add at the end of this particular existing collection. Okay, so this is the add all method we identified. Now what I will do, we'll try to move on to the one more add all method, so which is available inside this particular list interface. So if you see, where is add all? So here, the line number 21, we are having add all method which is expecting two parameters. So into index and collection. Into index and collection we are having, and whatever the method we provided, the line number 22, it is expecting only one parameter. So I'm going to comment out this, and I will provide this al dot add all I'm calling, and the last one I'm trying to provide with the 3. Getting the point. In the 3 index location I'm trying to insert al2. Okay, in the 3 index location I'm trying to insert this particular al2. So if we observe, without checking the code, first we'll see how it is working. Without checking the code, Now you can see here, so 0 index, first index and second index. In the third index, it is trying to store this particular value, and now it is the rollback, like whatever the 4 and 5 we are having after 3. After 3, this particular index location, whatever the 4 and 5 we are having, now it is added as it is. But the indexes are now replaced here. So this is the 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 6 and 7. Earlier it was 4 and 5. Earlier it was 4 and 5. Now it is coming as a 6 and 7. Why it is increased 6 and 7? Because we are calling the add all method with a specified index called 3, and inside the 3, whatever the GH we have earlier, now this particular GH is now removed to the 6 index location. So the newly collections object whatever we constructed, the values are storing in the 3 index onwards here. Okay, 3 index onwards here. So this is important here. Now we'll see one time how this particular code is implemented internally. Okay, let me run this example so that we can easily understand how this particular the another addl method is implemented. So I'm stopping into here. I'm moving inside this particular method. Now you can see range check. Getting the point. Earlier we did not check any range check, but right now we are checking because we are trying to work on this particular index here. So this is important. Getting the point. Now what you need to understand this particular range check here. So within the length if we have, then only it will try to insert the values. So you can see size. Size. We are not checking the capacity. Just we are checking the size here. So whatever the index if we are trying to provide, greater than to this particular size will get an exception, and less than to this particular 0 also will get an exception. Okay, but in our case it will not get any exception because within the size only we are giving this particular index here. So again, whatever the C we are adding, the newly collection, like it is something like string collection framework we are having. Now I'm converting into object array, and again I'm trying to load the length here. Okay, same code, whatever the same code we identified here. So almost a similar code we are having here. Now you can see, so maybe this also will fail the condition. Okay, because mm, mm, mm. so I need to check this maybe after checking this particular condition they are trying to do the length, or before only they are doing the length. So basically some expression, whatever the expression we did, something after the conditions, maybe it is trying to do the subtraction I'm thinking here, but I don't know what exactly it is doing this. Because of this particular expression it is failing. If you do the expression whatever we did earlier, so it should satisfy the condition. Okay, anyway, now you can see we identify how it is working internally. Now I'm trying to move on to this. So now you can see what is the S right now we are having 5 or 5 or 6, 5 only. So you can see 5 value. Now what is the index here? Index 3. Index is 3. Now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to do the something subtraction here. What is the number mode here? We are getting as a 2. Okay, we are getting as a 2. So what you need to understand this, whenever I'm trying to get this, and if it is greater than 0, if it is greater than 0, now I'm calling this array copy. Now I'm copying this array copy. Okay, so observe whatever the array copy we identified earlier. So I hope here only the method, yeah, here. Now you can see whatever the array copy we copied, like call this method earlier, same one it is calling. Same one it is calling. Now you can see element data. Okay, element data. So AB and IJ, and index we are having. So 3. Okay, index is 3, and same element data I'm passing, and index plus new. Index plus new. Okay, right now index is 3, and new it is something like so this is also 3. Totally 6 we are having, and number mode. So this is 2. What happens internally, if you see this, you can understand here source object, destination position, and length. The destination position will be changed here. Once I come out of this, Now if you say this element data, any changes you are getting? So only GH is now replaced. Why it is replaced to 6 here? Getting the point. Now why it is replaced to this particular 6 and 7? Basically the same object. Whatever the object we are having, the same object I am trying to reinsert one more time based on this particular condition. So if you see, what is the source object? Source object, so element object only. AB to IJ. Okay, and here, what is the index we are having? Index is 3. So this is the source destination. And what is the one more elements we are having? So this is also same, AB to and IJ. AB to IJ. And index is modifying here. So right now, what is the index we are having? So index is 3 and new number. So new number we are getting also 3. So because here, the length here, based on this particular length, we are getting as a 3. So totally, it is 6 here. It is 6. And number mode, it is trying to repeat the 2. So if you observe carefully, this values, what happening internally? The source values, now it will try to store into this particular destination. So it will try to store into the destination from which index onwards here? It will try to store on the 6th index onwards. Getting the point? 6th index onwards. How many values it is going to store? 2 values. Getting the point? Only 2 values it is going to store in the destination object. So the index is going to start with the 6 here. And from which index onwards this particular value is going to store? It will try to start from the 3 index here. Getting the 3 and 4, it is going to store inside this particular destination element data, and only 2 records are going to insert it. So if you observe carefully, now again I'm trying to show you this particular code, how the data is inserted here. So observe carefully, this is very important here, the line number 746 what we implemented here. Okay, so as I suggested, so it will start from the 3rd index location. So 3rd and 4th it is going to inserted in the 6th index onwards. So 6th index onwards it is inserting. Getting the point? Now what I will do, I will give you the diagram one more time. So let me explain with the diagrammatic so we can easily understand how this particular array copy is working. What is the first element we are having? Something like AB, CD, and EF we are having, and GH we are having, and something like IJ. Okay, this is the element data. So this is we can go for the we can go for the source, and we can go for the destination, because in the two cases element data. In the two cases we are using same. Now observe here. Now observe the array copy. First one is expecting source, and index is 3. Okay, index is 3, source index is 3, and the destination I'm passing here, and the destination start with the destination index is start with 6, and how many how many elements we want to copy? So it is trying to give me this elements here. Okay, so observe carefully. Source and destination is same. Source and destination is same, but the problem, the source elements it's going to store into the destination. Source elements it is going to store in the destination, but observe how it is modifying this particular value. From which index onwards it is going to copy? From 3rd index onwards. It will not copy from the 0. It will try to copy from the 3rd index onwards. What is the 3rd index here? So 0, 1, 2nd, and 3rd. So this is the 4th one. Okay, third, from the 3rd index onwards it is trying to copy the element. How many elements it is going to copy? Only 2. Only 2 elements. Getting the point? Only 2 elements it is going to copy. So 2 elements is nothing but 3rd and 4th. So 3rd and 4th element it is going to copy, and copy to where? Destination array. And inside the destination array, from the which index onwards it is going to store. So here we copied the 2 elements here. Okay, here we copied the 2 elements. But these 2 elements it is trying to store in the destination array, and from the which index onwards it is going to store? From the sixth index onwards. Getting the point? From the sixth index onwards, it is trying to store. Okay, now if I'm going to write here, because as of now, third and fourth we are having, so fifth we are like entering as a empty. Getting the point? And sixth and seven. So sixth is the GH we are going to get. Okay, and seventh one IJ. So this is the newly constructed destination array. Okay, so fifth it is sixth and seven. Getting the point. Now what you understand here? The source value 3 and 4, now it is copied into this particular destination. Getting the point. Whenever we copy this particular destination, fifth we are not inserting anything because of this particular destination starting index. This is the destination starting index we provide as a 6. So it is trying to start 6 and 7. Now if I'm going to open this elementary data, now you will understand this, how this data is inserted. Okay, so observe carefully. 0 to 5, 0 to 4. So this is the same. And fifth, it is a null object we are having. And 6 and 7. Getting the point? 6 and 7 is inserted here. So same thing, whatever we constructed is, it is matching or not. But how it is modifying it? Because of this particular system dot array copy. Okay, system dot array copy. Because of this, the whatever the line I highlighted here, the newly constructed the destination array, it is look like this. Okay, this is important. After this again, one more time I'm calling this. Okay, one more time I'm calling this particular same array copy. Now you need to understand how this section is working internally. Now one more time why we are calling here. Okay, so what is the element data we are having? So this is the element data we are identifying here. 0 to 4 we are having, fifth we are having as a null, and 6 and 7 we are having something like IJ, so GH and IJ we are having. Okay, now what is the A basically here? What is the A? It is a object array. Now here if you observe, what is the source here? So for the 749 method, what is the source? The source here something like string collection and framework. Okay, so this is the source right now. Okay, and now you can see 0 1 2. This is the source we provided. And what is the destination? So destination we identified just now, it is some bigger value, something AB, CD, okay, EF. So after EF, so I think what we inserted, let me try this. We have so GH and IJ, here we insert as a null, and again is coming with the GH and IJ. So this is the destination. Okay, this is the destination. Now what you understand here? So source we are having string collection framework. Here we are discussing about this because we are passing as a. The A is coming from the 734. The line number 734 we are getting A, and now you can see source destination is started with a 0. So if it is started with a 0, now it is trying to copy the from 0 index onwards. Okay, it is trying to copy the 0 index onwards. Now to where it is copying? Into the destination. So this is the destination, something like elementary data, and from the which index onwards it is going to copy. From the which index onwards it is going to copy. Now you can see this is the index here. What is the index here? So what is the index we are having? You can see index is 3. Index is 3. From the third index onwards, it is going to copy. How many elements it is going to copy? How many elements it is going to copy? 3. Getting the point? This is important here. So source object here, source index here. I can write S index here, something like a source index here, and destination object, something like DOBJ, and here I can write SOBJ, source object here, and this is the destination index here. Destination index is nothing but inside the destination array, from the which index onwards we want to start, it is providing this, and how many numbers we want to copy, this will give you the how many numbers we want to copy, how many elements we can write. Okay, something like a copy we can write. So this is the each and every parameter is indicating like this. Now we understand here. So what is the source array we are having? This is the source array. Okay, from the which index onwards it is going to copy 0, and inside the destination when like which index and like which index onwards it is going to copy, something like 3. Okay, so now you can see if it is going to copy from 3, now we need to understand carefully. So in the 3, it is going to replace with the string. Okay, in the 3, it is going to replace with the 3, and in the 4, it is going to replace with the collection, and in the 5, it is going to replace with the frame. Okay, the 3, 4, 5 now it is replaced here, and 6 and 7 as it is we are having. Getting the pen? 6 and 7 as it is we are going to get. So observe carefully, GH, IJ, and now these values are replaced with the string, collection, and framework. Getting the point? Now if I'm going to write the destination array, how it is look like in here? So something like AB and CD, EF. After EF, we'll try to add as a string, and collection, and framework, and so something like GH, IJ, GH, IJ. Getting the point? So this is the new array after copying the one more collection here, after copying the one more collection. So this is like this is the code is implemented internally whenever we are trying to call add all method with the help of this particular index here, with the help of this particular index. If I'm not providing the index, what happens internally? Directly at the end of the given size, it will try to copy the elements here. But the problem, whenever we are trying to providing the position, so whenever we are trying to providing the position, then we are having the problem here. We need to copy multiple times here. Okay. So this is all about the add all method. Any questions here? Any questions or regarding this particular diagram? Okay. So if we don't have anything, now I'm going to clear this particular diagram, and we'll see here we'll identify how it is going to copy. Now if you read this elementary data, now observe it is copying or not. From this particular third, fourth, fifth, it is copied, and 6 and 7 as it is we are getting the one. This is after copying the all the new collection here. Now because of this, it is trying to increase the size. So it is same. Whatever we implemented, it is adding the size increment. So this is important here. We need to increment the size internally. Finally, it is returning true once we add all the elements successfully. Okay, I'm printing this, and the size I'm printing. Finally, it is printing true. Okay, so this is the add all method we discuss here. And finally, now what is the another method we can discuss here? Like contains all also we can check. So same thing, contains also it's same like so we met. Okay, so observe carefully what I am doing here. Here I am trying to write. So here I'm trying to write the contains method. Same way we can write the contains also. But only the difference here, instead of providing the single object, we'll try to provide the multiple object here. Now if you see the contains all method also is expecting internally. Also it is expecting internally. So the collection here. Whenever it is expecting the collection, now what we can do? Now observe carefully here after this particular print statement. I'm trying to comment out this. I'm calling al dot contains all, I'm calling. But if you see this particular contains all, there is no condition. Okay, there is no condition here. So now you can see directly we are using the while called argument here. So here we are not having any condition. You can provide any collection here. Not only this thing, we can provide anything. But the problem here, now you can see internally what I'm doing here, I'm trying to call the contains method. Okay, internally what I'm doing here, I'm trying to call the contains method. But how I'm calling? Based on this particular loop. Now what you can understand here, it's like a single contains method we are calling. But only the difference is here, for this particular contains all, we are calling inside the loop. So this contains method, it's going to call multiple times here. But the code, whatever we identified, everything is same. Okay, everything is same here. So this is, we need to understand very carefully how this particular contains all it's going to work. And here I'm going to pass here something like AL2. So whenever I'm trying to pass here, what is the value it will return? It is will return true or false here. If it is collection will contain the object, collection will contain the specified object, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false here. Now you can see. So simply I'm going to write so true value. From here I'm going to copy here. Now what we can understand here, it will try to return this particular two values, like true values it is going to return. Let me run one more time. Now you can see we are getting as a true. So why we are getting as a true? Because inside this particular AL, we copied this particular object also. We copy this particular object. Because of that, it is returning true. For example, if I'm going to create one more collection, and here I'm going to provide as a integer. Here I'm going to provide as a integer. Now here, al3 dot add I'm going to call for two or three records here. Al dot something like two records or it's fine enough. Now what I will do here, I'm going to call instead of al2 al3 I'm calling, and I'm going to make as a else sections as well. If this particular if is fail, I'm going to write this particular else section. Simply I will return false. Okay, simply I will return false. Now if I'm going to run this, now I'm getting as a false here. Getting the point. Now I'm getting as a false. So why I'm getting this particular false here? It is because of the if condition is not satisfied here. Whatever this particular if condition we are making, it is not satisfied. Because why it is not satisfying here? So AL3, we provided that some numbers here. The numbers is no longer available inside this particular AL object. Okay. The first object we created array list here. Inside the array list, we don't have the number related information. So right now we are having, these are all the some string related information we are having. Because of that, it is returning the false here. So now it is moving on to the else section. Getting the point. This is very, very important. We can write the contains and contains all method, get method, remove method. Okay. And so what we discussed in the size method, these are all the important method, because most of the time we are going to use this particular method in the real time examples here. Right now, another method we'll discuss here, because we are familiar with contains all contains method. And before going to remove all, we'll discuss about the retain all method. So what exactly the retain all method will do here? Okay, now I'm trying to comment out these two sections here. Al dot retain all I'm passing here. Whenever I'm passing this particular retain all, I'm going to provide AL3. And what is the return type of this particular method? Again, it is trying to return the boolean return type here. Okay, getting the point. So now what you need to understand here, so basically based on this particular condition, it will it will make as it is. The remaining what are the elements is not going to match here. All the elements are going to remove here. So first we'll see this particular code, how it is implemented here. Now if we observe carefully, we are trying to pass this particular collection here, and we are calling batch remove. Okay, we are calling batch remove here. So we'll try to come up with a debug only so that we can understand. We can understand how it is internally implementing this. Now I'm moving into the last method, retain all. Let me go to this internal section. So we are calling batch remove. Here we need to understand very carefully. Size we are passing. Size right now it is a 8. And whatever the collection we are having, collection we are passing. So the collection will contain 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6. We are passing true and we are giving as a 0. We'll see why we are passing true and 0 as well. Now I'm moving batch remove method. Now you can see, so here we are checking require not null object here. Simply we are checking. So basically this whatever the collection we are providing, it is a not null object here. Now what happens internally? If the object is null, we are going to throw an exception here. Okay, we are going to throw an exception. So otherwise we'll return this particular object here. Now you can see we are passing this particular object here. Now we are trying to load the element data. The element data, what it contains here. So this is the element data AB to IJ. Getting the point? AB to the IJ we are having here. Now I am trying to repeat the loop. Okay. Now I'm trying to repeat this particular loop. Observe carefully. This is the initialization, and here we don't have a condition. Getting the point? Here we don't have a condition. So we already discussed here. So initialization, condition, and iteration. But if you see, this section is no longer available here. So this is we are using the initialization. Condition is not available. It is we are using the increment. Now, if we observe carefully, from, what is the from? It is 0. From it is 0. You can see in the variable section, you can easily understand the from is 0. So the 0 value I am trying to store into the R. Right now, R value 0. Okay, R equals to end. What is the end we are having? End we are having 8 here. So it is not matching here. So this section not matching. Now it is not matching. What I am doing is I am trying to check this particular if condition. Okay, I'm trying to check this particular if condition. If we observe, again we are calling contains method. Okay, again we are calling contains method. So what happens internally? Now we need to understand here. Let's observe, we are calling the loop and the condition will fail. Now we are coming back to here. So contains method, we are passing this EF of IR. So in the 0 index location, what is the value we are having? AB. AB, it is matching with this particular contains? No, it will not match. It will return false here. So whenever it is returning false, what is this value right now? True. Now entire expression, what happens internally? We are using the not equals. So whenever we are using not equal, it is returning satisfied. Okay, it is satisfying here because here we are using the not operator here. So this section now false we are getting. So it will convert it as a true, and we are checking into this particular the complement here. So finally condition is satisfying. Once it is satisfying, we are we are trying to stop this particular loop. So once the loop is stopped here, we are coming out here. We are coming out. Now W value R plus plus. The W value we are getting as a 1 because R value 0. Okay, it is increased this particular R value. Same way the W also it is increased. W also, okay, it is a post increment. Okay, so W is 0 but R is increased. Now again observe carefully. Again observe carefully. Here one more loop we are trying to write. Okay, one more loop we are trying to write here. So this is the condition we are checking here. or less than end. Okay, again we are checking this. One more, the contains information. Now you can see what happening internally. So we are calling index of. We are calling index of here. Now condition is not satisfied. Condition is not satisfied because here whatever we are passing this particular ES, it is not going to return true value because whatever the collection we provided, different collection we provided. Now you can see if the loop will repeat multiple times, the condition will not satisfy. Now you can see the try block is not yet satisfied. So finally we are coming back to the finally getting the point. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to checking this particular mod count. How many times this particular the mod count is increasing it. So finally we are calling one more another important method called shift to tail over gap. Exactly it is doing? What is the end? It is a length we are having, and what is the W we are having right now? It is a 0, and this is not something like a elementary data. Okay. Now if I'm going to call this, now you can see we are copying one more the array copy method here. So this is important. One more time we are copying this. So after copying this, any changes we are having inside this particular ES, we need to identify any changes here. So right now, no changes. So whatever the object we are having, as it is we are having. Now if you see, using this particular for loop, now what I am doing is, I am making all the elements as a null. All the elements as a null. Now if we observe this particular ES, all the objects are removed. Getting the point? All the objects are removed here. So why these objects are removed here? Because whatever the collection we provide as a parameter, the parameter is not matched with the current object. If the objects are not matched with the current object here, it will remove all the objects. So whatever the matched records only, it will keep as it is, and the remaining objects are going to remove here. Now if you see, so this particular the AL, it is empty. This particular AL is now it is empty. We are trying to returning true now. So all the objects are removed here. Getting the point? This is very important. We need to understand here. After printing this AL dot size, if I'm going to print this particular AL dot size, we'll get 0. We are getting 0. Getting the point? Why we are getting 0? The last record now you can see 0 we are getting because whatever we are passing here, whatever we are passing this object is not available inside this particular AL. So AL3 objects records are not available inside this particular EL. So whenever the records are not available, all the records are removed. For example, if I'm going to pass AL2, okay, now you can see the size it is returning 3. Why the size is returning 3? Only these 3 objects are available, and remaining these objects and these objects no longer available. It will remove here. So now what you understand here, a retains method basically, if the object is available, it will keep, otherwise it will remove. Otherwise it will remove. So now we pass the AL2. So whenever I'm passing this particular AL2, we need to understand how this particular retains all method is calling internally. Okay, so again one more time calling this particular same retains all method, so that we'll get to know how it is working internally. Same. So C we are passing, true we are passing, 0 and size we are passing. The same method we are going to call here, and it is a not null object, element data, or and what happens internally? This particular loop, it will repeat for all the iterations complete. No, because what is the value we are having? AB, and what is the C? So C will contain the string collection framework. String collection framework. So this is not matching with one record. So it is stopping. Now W0 or 1. And here we are going to repeat multiple times. Now you can see what happening internally. Whatever this particular value we are having, Now I'm trying to store into this particular E, and after this I'm trying to check here. So if you observe, condition is not satisfied, but we need to check what is the value we are having, CD. CD. So why it is checking CD? Because our value now it is increased to 1. Earlier it should be the AB. So because of this particular R, it is moved on to the first index location we are checking. Now I'm checking the second here. Second index location. So not satisfied. So third index location, it is satisfying. So once it is satisfying, now we can see what is the W? W is a 0. W is a 0. Okay. Now inside this particular index location ES, the values now it's stored here. Okay. Now you can see first index location. First index location, the AB now it is replaced with a string. AB now it is replaced with a string. Why? Because this particular condition is satisfied here. So one more, this will also satisfy. So in the first index location, it will store. Second index location will satisfy. And this value will not satisfy. Now if you say this particular ES, if you say this particular ES, string collection, let me write. What happens here? Okay. So string collection framework, these are all the three records are satisfied. And from the third to 7, this value is going to remove here. Because of this particular W, getting the point. Because of this particular W, what happening internally? The W right now, what is the W right now? 3. And what is the end we are having? 8. So what is the mod count we are going to get? 11. Okay. So what is the mod count we are having right now? Now you can see 11 here. So why we are getting the 11? Earlier something it is like 8 I guess. So based on that it is increased this. So finally we are trying to call this particular the shift method, and end value we are having 8, and W value something like 3 we are having, and ES. So what is the ES? So these are all the collection, and now you can see, so string collection framework G, H and IJ. Now from third onwards it will try to remove the up to 7. So we'll see that how it is it's going to remove. Now you can see array copy. This is important, array copy. Getting the point. Source and destination we need to check how it is going to work. Now if I'm going to see any changes is reflected here, nothing. So the source and destination it is the same here. So there is no changes. But here what we need here, we need to understand this. Int 2 is equals to size. What is the size right now? 8. Okay, 2 value 8 here. And finally here what I'm doing is size of minus equals to like a minus elbow. So it is doing some subtraction, and we are trying to store into this particular I value. Here 2 and I. 2 values we are initializing, and this is the condition we are making, and this is the I value. So if I'm going to expand this, what is the I right now? 3. What is the I value right now? 3. Getting the point. So from the third index location, it will try to make as a null values. Because of this particular iteration, like initialization, because of this particular initialization, the I value now it is modifying here. Now it is modifying here. So finally we are getting as a 3. From the third index location we are making all the values as a null. Because of that the size we are getting as a 3. And if I'm going to print here, only what are the values we are going to get here. Whatever the array list 2 object we added, so those records only will get it here. So string collection framework. The remaining objects are removed here. So this is one of the important method called retain all. Okay. So any questions regarding this particular retain all? Okay. So if you don't have anything, so I'm going to stop the session up to here. We'll have something removal method, and we'll discuss about the list iterator and sublist. So sublist and list iterator and index of and last index of. So some of the methods are pending here. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll try to discuss about the this particular methods, how it is working internally. Okay, this particular array list and what we can call as linked list, we are going to discuss something with the debug, and later we'll try to identify the code example. So we'll see how it is working internally. By seeing the code, we can easily understand how the each and every method working internally. Okay, so this is all about the one of the important example we discussed, something like array list related. We'll continue tomorrow.